Good afternoon, class. I'm Darrius. Today I'll be teaching you about a new beginning, which is basically a brief overview of safe sex. Next slide. These are the objectives that I want my students to, that I plan on having you guys to know by the time I get through presenting today, or get through teaching you this lesson. You know, student will be able to clearly define what the term safe sex means. Student will be able to remember the newly introduced terms as I lecture through them, and the student will be able to demonstrate the proper way to apply protective gear to ensure safe sex. And these lesson objectives will cover the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Next slide. Alright. My introduction. Today we will be learning about the basics of safe sex. During today's lesson, I expect the students to take thorough notes and understand the importance of safe sex. I also want them to believe that safe sex is essential to preserving some facets of the human body. The first question you should ask when teaching safe sex is, what is safe sex? Safe sex is defined as sexual activity that takes place between two people who are taking precautions to protect themselves. The next thing you should ask is, why is safe sex important? Safe sex is important because, for one, it prevents STDs, which is sexually transmitted diseases. It prevents unwanted pregnancy, and it also saves lives. And these are a few statistics about safe sex, or about the lack of safe sex. Every year, 10% of teenage girls ages 15 to 19 become pregnant. More than 80% of the girls under age 17 that become pregnant and keep their baby end up on some type of social services, which means that having a baby at a young age is never good. In some cases it can work out, but in most cases, as you see, 80%, so that means 4 times out of 5, if you have a baby under the age of 17, you're going to have some type of welfare assistance or some kind of social service. Secondly, 3 million teenage girls and boys are diagnosed with sexually transmitted diseases each year. So that means that safe sex is not really being used or taught in the communities, because 3 million teenage girls and boys, and teenage means anything 18 and under pretty much, are contracting sexually transmitted diseases. And lastly, 43% of college-age females end up with HIV over a 3-year period. So basically, by the time these young women graduate from college, they are HIV positive, which means that safe sex is not being practiced on any level, from early teenage all the way to when you graduate from college. Now, a few of the common STDs that you run into are gonorrhea, hepatitis, syphilis, chlamydia, and crabs, which is another name for crabs is lice. These are a few of the more common ones. There are a lot more common ones, but these are the main ones that you see on a pretty much daily basis. A few statistics about each sexually transmitted disease. Gonorrhea. Over 507,000 are infected between the ages of 15 and 24 years old. So that's 500,000 people, 500,000 teenagers are being infected with gonorrhea before they reach the age of 25. With hepatitis, we have 16,000 reported infections in the past year. So basically, that's the size of a small to medium-sized town of teenagers that are infected with hepatitis each year. Syphilis. There are 46,042 reported infections in the past year of syphilis. Chlamydia, over 1 million reported cases come in for chlamydia each year. So this will pretty much make chlamydia the most common STD that you run into on a daily occurrence, because over 1 million people reported these cases each year. And lastly, crabs, or lice as they're commonly called, have 25,000 reported cases. Alright, so at this time I would take my students, I would divide them up into 4 groups. Each group will discuss what they know about these STDs or whatnot and give their general knowledge of the STDs as much as they know in the group. And after about 15 minutes or so, the groups will come together back to the class, and each group will present what they learned, and we pretty much have a class discussion over what they think are appropriate traits or non-appropriate traits or symptoms that you commonly see, and what aren't really symptoms that you would commonly see. Next slide. I'll go back over there. And also during the discussion, this discussion will focus on the verbal and linguistic multiple intelligence, and it will also be an effective. We use the effective, psychoeffective thing. Alright, next. Tools to use. These are a few common tools that I say will pretty much ensure that you will avoid coming down with a sexually transmitted disease. First, the most foolproof way and the surest way to ensure that you do not come down with a sexually transmitted disease is abstinence. Abstinence is the only sure way to avoid STDs. Secondly is for males and females, because there are some female condoms, but for males and females, it's condoms. These greatly reduce the chance of contracting a sexually transmitted disease, as well as reduces the chance of you having an unplanned or unwanted pregnancy. And last, for females, pretty much is birth control, which is more or less a safe option that you can use to avoid unwanted pregnancy. But none of these are 100% effective except for abstinence. Alright. And at this point in time, we would have what I call karaoke safe sex edition, which focuses on the musical intelligence, and we'll also focus on the cognitive and psychomotor. And basically I will split the class into 4 different groups again, and each group will have about 10 to 15 minutes or so. They can fluctuate to create a song using everything that they learned during the presentation over safe sex, as far as the common STDs, the ways to prevent them, the statistics, anything like that they can use to create a song. The rules for the song, the song will have to be at least 1.5 minutes or 1 minute and 30 seconds, but cannot exceed 2 minutes, because during the class time we will be under time constraints. Each group will perform their song in front of the entire class, and each group member and each group must participate. And if they don't participate, then they would be pretty much losing participation points as well as any other thing for that class period. And last is what I call repo time. And at this point, it's pretty much what I would pretty much restate my main point or review my main topics and my main points that I tried to hit, the main things I stressed on my presentation. And I also use this time to ask my students any questions, because 9 times out of 10, when you're teaching a lesson, students aren't gonna grasp the entire concept until they can ask you a question to clarify something that they pretty much were confused on in the beginning. So at this time, I will ask, does any of my students have any questions? If they don't, I will close by giving them an assignment to take home, and it would be to go home and research and bring back 5 more common STDs, the symptoms that they have associated with those STDs, and a few statistical facts based along with those STDs. And this will pretty much be the end of my presentation.